Good morning. Today we're going to perform a hemoglobin determination using a Hemopoint H2 photometer. Supplies and equipment needed: Hemopoint H2 microcuvettes. Please note the lot number and expiration date. A hemoglobin control cuvette. Please note that the target value used to calibrate the machine is found on this cuvette. Also, please note that the cuvette is numbered, as is the machine. It's very important that you match the control cuvette to the machine. Do not lose this cuvette. Do not accidentally throw it away. We're also going to use controls, a low control and a high control. We are going to use parafilm squares, which are labeled. Always make sure you label your controls in order to put the controls solution on there. I'm going to proceed now, and I'm going to perform the controls for this machine. Remember that when you have the controls, just like any other component of a test, you must note the expiration date. This control is still in date. In order to mix the control, you need to roll it between the palms of your hand. Never shake it. You do not want to generate any bubbles. You're going to take this, holding it straight up and down on the labeled parafilm. You're going to apply a drop of the low control. You're going to do the same thing for the high control. These controls can stay on the parafilm for several minutes while you run the calibration control for the machine. You start the process by opening and closing the cuvette holder. That starts the machine into the wake mode. You will take this control cuvette. Note that this is the top part. It must be inserted correctly into the machine. Open the holder manually, place this test calibration cuvette in there, and then close it manually. You're going to wait for it. It will be talking to you the whole time, telling you testing, testing. When it's completed, there will be a value on the readout monitor. You need to compare that value to the value found on the control cuvette cover. It must be within 0.3 plus or minus of the value here. The value on this container is 12.1 grams per deciliter, and the value found by the machine is also 12.1 grams per deciliter. So that tells us that the machine calibration is performed correctly and the machine is functioning correctly. Gently pull out the cuvette holder, replace the control cuvette in your container, and set it aside. Now I'm going to perform the same procedure, but I'm going to use controls. I need to always make sure that the cuvettes are stored in a tightly closed container. They are stored at room temperature. In this case, the top part of this cuvette has writing on it, which you'll be able to see when you are facing it. I'm going to take this cuvette and I'm going to use the tip of this cuvette, not the side. I'm going to touch it very lightly to the drop of control, and it fills by capillary action. Then I'm going to wipe the bottom of the cuvette, not the top and not the side, because I don't want to remove any of this solution. I'm going to wipe that so that it doesn't accidentally contaminate the machine. I will place this control in the machine, close the cover, and wait for it to respond. While we're waiting for that test, this is where you will get the control values from. This insert is found in the box with the controls. And once again, your control value results must be within range. There is a different value sheet or range sheet for every set of controls. Please make sure that the lot number of your controls match the sheet found here. We now have a result of 5.0 grams per deciliter, and the value range for this particular set of controls is 4.6 to 5.6 grams per deciliter. So our low value control is in range. I'm going to remove this, dispose of these in a sharps container. Although they are not metal and not particularly pointed, they are hard plastic, and there is a potential for them to break and cause a sharps injury. I'm going to record the result, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to run the high control. Once again, I'm going to make sure the cuvette is in the right orientation. I'm going to touch it to the drop of control. It's going to fill by capillary action. And then I'm going to wipe the bottom. I'm going to insert it in the machine and manually close it. While that machine is running, I'm going to show you a typical log sheet. On this side, we're going to have the date. We're going to have the calibration results, which I'm going to record here, the results of the low control, the high control. We are not running a normal control today. It's not necessary to run more than 2 controls. And I'll put my initials. At the end of the day, I will make sure that the cuvette holder has been cleaned, that the machine's been cleaned, and I will document that. The value on this high control is in range. It is 15.0 grams per deciliter, and I've disposed of the cuvette in the sharps container. Now we're ready to perform the test on our patient.